Hello, my dear students and the rest of the learners. Welcome to part 32 of a 41-part series of tutorials in Fundamentals of Object-Oriented Programming in Java. In this tutorial, we are going to look at what we call the classes, the objects and the members of Java Object-Oriented Programming. My name is MMJM, so you can simply call me MLSWAP. Java is an object-oriented programming language, or OOP language, which is about creating objects that contain both data and methods. Therefore, the core concept of the object-oriented approach is to break complex problems into smaller objects. The object-oriented programming is a preferred programming paradigm because it has the following advantages. Number one, it is faster and easier to execute. Number two, it provides a clear structure for the programs. Number three, it helps to keep the Java code dry. That is, don't repeat yourself, and makes the code easier to maintain, modify, and debug. Number four, it makes it possible to create full reuse of applications with less code and shorter development time. Everything in Java is associated with the classes and objects, along with its attributes and methods. In other words, my dear students and the rest of the learners, when we speak about an object-oriented programming language, we are simply speaking about a language in which the programmer organizes most of the code in terms of classes and objects, or what we call the instances. Therefore, the two main aspects of object-oriented programming are classes and objects. So what is a Java class? A class is a template that specifies the data, that is the data member and behavior, or what we call the method of an object, and is a static description of set of objects. In fact, from the beginning of the series in Fundamentals of Programming using Java, we have been speaking about classes, and classes. And therefore, it is the high time, my dear students and the rest of the learners, to know that when we speak about a class, we are speaking about that template in which we are organizing our data in terms of methods and members. Because in every class, we have been having a method. And other than the method, we have also been having some data members, or what sometimes people call the local variables. A class is therefore a logical method that is used to organize data and functions in the same structure. It can thus be said to be a used and defined data type that is composed of data members and member functions or methods. Therefore, a class defines constituent members, which enable these class instances to have state and behavior. A class represents a general template that shows how data is stored and processed. And for that reason, a class contains both the data and functions or methods that are used to manipulate that data. This data, which is the class's attribute, is normally referred to as data members, or the functions in a class that are wrapped together with the data members and are the only ones with direct access to the data members are called the methods or member functions. In fact, in object-oriented programming, and especially Java, we do not call member functions functions. We call them methods. And we don't speak about local variables, but we speak about the data members. And therefore, in a class, there are two main types of members. That is the methods and the data. The class is treated as the template for objects. Always remember that the name of the Java file should match the class name, as we have said consistently in the entire series of presentations up to this presentation. The following is therefore the syntax for creating a class. Scope, class, class name. And then we define the work of that class. Or class, class name. And then we define the fields and the methods for that class. Here, float variables and methods represent the state and behavior of the object respectively. The fields and methods of a class are also called members of the class, whereby fields are used to store data or methods are used to perform some operations. The access modifiers for classes that you can use when coding classes are the public, that is, the class is accessible by any other class. Default, this means that a class declared as default or scope default is only accessible by classes in the same package. This is used when we don't specify a modifier. What the non-access modifiers that you can use with the classes are the final. Final indicates that the class cannot be inherited by other classes. Abstract. The class cannot be used to create objects. To access an abstract class, it must be inherited from another class. For example, we can create a class called performance in a file called performance.java that assigns an integer value of 24 to a data member called a cat as follows. Public class performance. And then we have members who are cat and exam of a type integer, name of type string. And then we have method, a method called results, whose work on definition is to assign Mary Julius to the name, assign 24 to cat, assign 43 to exam, and end the definition at that point. So that is a class. As you can see, the class called performance, whose scope is public, that is public class performance, has two types of members. We have the data members who include name, exam, and cat, and method who, in this case, is results. And this method called result does not return any value to the caller, and that is why it is void. So what are Java objects? Objects are data structures or instances of a class consisting of data fields or data members and methods together with their interactions to design applications and computer programs. An object is thus a collection of data members and associated member functions, also known as methods. Therefore, when the individual objects are created, they inherit all the variables and methods from that class. And therefore, an object is any activity, is any entity. An object is any entity that has a state and behavior. Remember, behavior is the method, state is the members, the data members. So, before we create an object, we first need to define the class. For example, suppose the class called performance is defined. Then we can declare an object of that class by the name resource object, details object, amongst others. Therefore, my dear students and the rest of the learners, if you have a class called performance, then resource object, details object, etc. can be considered as objects of this class. This simply means that you can have several objects manipulating the same class. For example, result object, details object, all of them being for the class called performance. The declaration for an object for a class is usually done within the main method using the following syntax. So we have the class name object equals to new class name. And remember, that is a method. For example, new performance, new performance. New performance being for the class called performance. So we can have an object to manipulate performance class by the name results object. And therefore, results object is of type performance. So performance in this case is a class, and therefore that's like a data type. So you are creating new, you are creating new, you are creating new member, you are creating new member called performance, new method called performance. We have used the new keyword along with the name of the class to create an object. To create an object. So the object called result object is for the class called performance. Here, results object is the name of object or instance for manipulating the members of performance class. We can use it to access fields and methods of the class. We can create multiple objects of a single class in Java. Therefore, in Java, an object is created from a class. For example, to create an object for the class called performance, you specify the class name followed by the object name and use the keyword new. I repeat, to create an object for the class called performance, you specify the class name followed by the object name, and then you use the keyword new. For example, to create an object called results object for manipulating the class called performance, we can do it as follows. Public class static void main. So this is the main method. Under it, you can create an object called results object of the class performance by specifying the class name followed by the object name, the class name followed by the object name, and use the keyword new. So performance resource object equals to new performance. This statement is declaring an object for the class called performance. It's declaring an object for the class called performance. How do you access members of a class? The attributes of a class entails its methods, data members, and objects. You can thus say that class attributes are variables within a class. You can thus specify as many attributes as possible to a single class. The access methods that you can use for attributes, methods, and constructors include the public. This means that the code is accessible for all classes. Private means that the code is only accessible within the declared class, while default indicates that the code is only accessible in the same package, which is used when you don't specify a modifier. We are protected. It simply means that the code is accessible in the same package as subclasses. For example, our class called performance, whose definition and declaration is as follows, is composed of the following attributes. 3 data members by the names name, cat, and exam. Number 2 is one member method or one method member called results. And number 3 is one object called results object. So we have the public class performance, and we have some data members who are cat and exam of type integer and name of type string. And then we have a method called results, whose definition is name and Julius being assigned name, 24 being assigned to cat, 43 being assigned to exam, and that is the end of the definition for that method and for that class. Then we can also have, or we have the main method, who is public static void main. And then the definition for it is creating a new object called resource object for the class performance. So this declares object for class performance. Therefore, in order to access the members of a class, we can use the name of objects along with the dot operator using the following syntax. For example, to access a member of the class called performance through the object, you write it as object name dot class member. For example, to access or invoke the method called results from the class called performance, we code the following statement. Results object, which is the object for manipulating the content for the class called performance. So results object dot the method results. So this statement is invoking details entry method for the class or from the class. While we can access the data members in the class called performance through the instance of that class called results as follows. Results object dot name, results object dot cat, results object dot exam. So you can also create an object of a class and access it in another class. My dear students and the rest of the learners, you can see that once you have declared an object for a class, you can directly access the member of that class by having the dot operator followed by the name of the field or the name of the member, whether data member or method. You can therefore also create an object of a class and access it in another class. This is often used for better organization of classes, where one class has all the attributes and methods, or the other class holds the main method that is going to be executed. The following is therefore a sample program implementing a class called performance, and it creates an object called results object of the class performance, then uses the name, cat, exam, photo, and results attributes to display the results on the screen. So the name of the package or the project is object Java. Import java.throuh.scanner, then we define our class called performance. So class performance, which has the following definition. One, an object of scanner called scan is declared to allow us, of course, to do the entry of data. And then we define 3 data members who are total, exam and the cat of type integer. The next is definition for a member whose name is name and is of type string. And then we define a method. This method is called results. It does not return any value to the caller, and its work is simply to enter the details of students. And therefore, the definition for this method is system.out.println. What is the name for this student? So this, the first instruction within this method is from the user for the name of the student. And then we key in the name of the student. It is read by the method called next line through the object called scan, and the value received is assigned into a memory location called name, or the variable or the member called name. The next is to ask the user to enter the mark for this student. So the text that will be displayed on the screen is what the mark did. Otieno, Kamau, Wagoi, Salat, Nick, Agnes, score in cat. So this statement will simply display, or the processor will display the message, what the mark did. Then it is going to look for the content of the variable called name, read it and display it at this point, followed by the text score in cat. And then we enter the value that the student has gotten in cat. This value will be read by the method called nextInt through the object called scan, and the value which will be entered will be assigned in the memory location called cat. The next is to request the user or to display the message on the screen, what the mark did, so and so, score in exam. So what will happen is that the processor will pick the content of the variable called name and store it and display it at this point. And therefore, the statement that will be displayed on the screen in full will be what Mark did. For example, Otieno score in exam. And then the user will key in the value that is going to be read. This value is of type integer. It will be read by the method for reading integers, which is next int, through the object called scan, and that value will be assigned in the memory location called exam. The next is to add the content of the memory location called exam to the content of the memory location called cat, and the overall results for the total will be assigned to the memory location called total. From there, we have the definition for the main class, or the main, not main class, but main method. Public static void main. So what this instruction will do is to create an object called the source object of type performance. So this statement is declaring object for class performance. Then we assign or invoke the method called results through the object for that class by the name resource object. From there, we display on the screen the name or the content of the memory location called name. So the content of that data member will be read, then it will be displayed on the screen, followed by the text as scored. Then the processor will pick the content in the data member called cat, who can be accessed by the object called results object. Then it will display in cat end. It will then pick the content in the memory location called the exam through the object resource object, display it at this point, and then and the tabs in exam. So if, for example, the name is Julius, the cat is 20, and the exam is 70, it will read as follows. Julius has scored 20 in cat and 70 in exam. That's just an example. Next statement is, therefore, the total score for Julius is, so it will display or pick the total or the value in the member called total and display it at this point. And that will be the end of that program. Therefore, my dear students and the rest of the learners, let us code this program in Eclipse IDE so that we can see how it will behave. So what we shall do is we are going to launch our Eclipse IDE. So you just search for Eclipse IDE in your computer and launch it. So you wait for your IDE program like Eclipse or NetBeans or any other complete launching. Good. Once you are in your IDE like Eclipse, you click on File, on to New, and then click Java Object. Then we give our project a name. So we can give our project a name, and the name we are going to give to our project is object Java. Object Java. So that's the name that I'm going to give to our project name. And then you click on Finish. So this is our project name, object Java. And then we can create our class by right-clicking on it, point on New, and then we click on a class. As you can see, the name of the package automatically will become object Java. And that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, is the name of the project. So we can call our class performance. Remember, the name of the class is the name of the file. So the name of the file will be performance.java, or the name of the package is the name of the project. From there, we can select public static void main string, and then we click on finish. So, my dear students and the rest of the learners, you can see we have a program tab. This tab, the name of the package is object Java. We have public class performance, and then public static void. We have that. Alternatively, so what we need to do is to add the rest of the code within this structure. Or you can just erase this structure, the whole of it, once you are here, and then you can paste your code here if you have already typed your program using a word processor. For example, Microsoft Word, Notepad, or any other text editor. Or you can simply or directly type each of the statements separate within your IDE or your editor. However, my dear students and the rest of the learners, kindly note that the name of the project, Object Java, must be the name of the package. Exact name, whether in uppercase or lowercase. You can see the name of my package is the name of my project. Next is the name of the class. Our name of the class is performance. And you can see it is the same name that we have for the file. So once those are okay, you then ensure that whenever the class will be required or the name of the class will be required, it is the actual name. So you can ensure, you need to ensure that your program is nicely indented. Remember, this is the program that we have already discussed. It is the program that I have explained. And therefore, that's why I have just pasted my program instead of typing it word for word. Also, because of the time for you. So that is our program. Ensure the braces are matching. This one is matching with this for the main method. And then ensure that the braces for the method results are also matching. And then the name of the class, the class performance, the brace must match. So once you have typed your program, what to do is to save your program. Then you can run it by clicking on run, then run. And that's it. You can see that our program is executing nicely. The most important part for you to remember, my dear students and the rest of the learners, is the name of the object, the name of the package. The name of this package is the name of the project. So as you launch your IDE, where you are prompted for the project name, the name you give will become the name of the package, while the name of the class becomes the name of the file, but addend.java. So that consistency is key. So we are being asked, what is the name of this student? What is the name of this student? Can see, this is this statement here. What is the name of this student? I can see the name of this student is Julius. Then you press enter. You are asked, what mark did Julius score in the card? Julius scored 28 or 27 out of 30. You press enter. What mark did Julius score in the exam? Julius scored 67. So once I press enter, you can see the program has been able to compute the results, and it is saying the total score for Julius is, so Julius has scored 27 in CAT and 67 in exam. Therefore, the total score for Julius is 94. My dear students and the rest of the learners, kindly note that the name of the student, the score in CAT, and the score in exam has been through the class called the performance and the method called results. While the statements for displaying what Julius has in CAT and exam, as well as the total, is within the main method. So with that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, you can close or edit us and exit from your IDE program. And with that, my dear students and the rest of the learners, we have come to the end of part 2 of the series. You can now proceed and listen, watch, as well as practice on part 3 or 44, in which we are going to learn about how to edit class attributes. Congratulations, therefore, for learning part 2 of 41 on the classes, objects, and members of Java object-oriented programming in fundamentals of object-oriented programming using Java. Kindly note that what we have discussed in this presentation is just a recap of the many programs that we have been coding in this series of tutorials in programming using Java. You can access the rest of the parts in the series, as well as other computer or ICT videos by clicking or tapping on MLSWAP ICT YouTube channel below this video. To subscribe to the channel, tap on subscribe button below this video in YouTube if it's not currently reading as subscribed. Similarly, you can join and support. You can offer your support to the producer of this channel, the content in the channel, by supporting through joining the channel as a special member by clicking on the join link in this channel. And then you can join by making a contribution as will be guided in the prompts. For any further correspondence, kindly write it to us through the email mlswap@gmail.com. Thank you very much for listening to me, and God bless.